Hello, and welcome to another episode of Turning Sparkly Cardboard Sideways. My name's Jimmy. Bancroft is behind the camera. And right here will be my personal phone number, 859-279-2405. If you have any questions, concerns, critiques on any deck profile or battles we post, please feel free to send me a message. Or if you just want to say hi or share some of your deck tech, deck list ideas, please send me a message and I'll try to reply as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of Tech and Protection. Today I, Bancroft, will be giving my take on Red Broly BR. Now, this being my take, I'm still constantly changing this deck. I think I've changed it after every duel I've had with it so far, and I actually changed it before this profile. That being said, any advice you all have, I'm looking forward towards it. Any suggestions, please give them to me. But if you all, like always, if you enjoy our content, hit that like, subscribe button. But let's get into this deck. So Broly. What I love about Broly is that it reminds me a lot of Lord Slug on the front side. Because activate main, once returned, add one card from your life to your hand. This card gains crit. So it's a self-awakening card in case you're playing against a deck that does not like to attack. Or it's just it's a leader of crit. I mean, what? That's amazing. So activate main, add up to one red extra card with energy cost of 1 from your deck to your hand, shuffle your deck, and negate this skill for game. Ideally, you would use Planet Vampa. You would grab Planet Vampa with this card. With this effect. If you have Planet Vampa in your hand, I do play a Searcher, and I also play another negate that's 1 energy cost. That works great for this, so we'll get to those when we get down to that point. Awaken for as long as your life is 4 or less, restand 2 energy. Now, this leader should permanently have crit. As long as you have a red Broly BR card in play. And with its second auto, you should always have one in play. But first auto, draw 1 card. When this card attacks, draw 1 card. This card gains with 5,000 power. So now it's a 20k crit. And now second auto, choose 1 card in your hand. Discard it when one of your Broly BR cards is removed from battle area by an opponent's skill or KO. Choose up to one of your red Broly BR cards of energy cost 4 or less in your hand and play it. So if you get down to, if you get the 4 out, the 5 or 6 out, and they're like, nah, it's gone. You could replay it, anything 4 and less, which is pretty nice. Or if you happen to have a 1 or 3 drop out on the board, and for some reason your opponent removes it, cool. Play a 4 drop, hopefully for free at that rate. So, great, you can do it to discard a card, but you're getting that out there without using any energy. So, alright, Planet Vampa. The field card for this deck, I play 2 of, mainly because the non-awakened side auto can pull it. And I play 2 because if you play 1, most time for some reason because of luck, it's always in your life. So playing 2 guarantees you, well, it doesn't guarantee it because I haven't had it happen where both in my life yet. Actually, this hasn't been in my life period yet. But back in the day when I was playing like a lot of the Wish decks, I would have like 4 balls in my deck and in my life, and I'm like, are you kidding me? That's okay. So, but play 2. Hopefully, they're not in your life. Alright, activate main once returned if your leader card is red Broly BR, and you add 1 card from your life to your hand, so another way of self-awakening. Look up the top 7 cards of your deck, and play up to 1 red Broly BR, Paragus BR, Bob BR, or Golemite BR, with 5,000 power or less among them. Shuffle your deck afterwards, and if you played a card, choose 1 card in your hand, discard it. So, the targets I use for this deck, I actually have 12 different targets in this deck for it. The first being Paragus. Now, yes, I play 4 Paragus, even though it has unique. It does have Overlord, but it's auto. When this card is played, look up to 5 cards from the top of your deck, add up to 1 red Broly BR card, or 1 red Unison with specific energy cost of 1 among them, and then shuffle your deck afterwards. So it's a Searcher, which is pretty nice. But once I start getting the 1-drop Broly promos, I'm going to put this deck back down to 3, and make one of those the 1-drop Broly promo. The next card, I play 4 of Ba, because Ba also, when played, add up to 1 mono red Broly BR card with energy cost 5 or less from your deck to your hand and shuffle your deck afterwards. So it's another way of just bringing out the chain that you need to your hand, which is all you can ask for. So, was that Successor of Hope, I think it was, that did the same thing? So, I chose to take out Golemite. Reason being is because there's not a lot of decks Golemite can actually hit. Unless you're playing against a Shinron, Dark Broly. Outside of that, I can't think of anything else that this can actually hurt. So, sure, put in the sideboard, go from there. If I'm missing something, please let me know. I just couldn't figure out what my opponent could possibly have on my turn when they have 3 or less energy that I could hit. Because if they have 3 energy and they play, I think Hatchet could play off 3. Cool, I can't attack anymore. Then it's their turn, and they charge energy. This is useless. And then most decks I play against, they typically get the big boy out, whatever it may be, on turn 4 or 5. Most games go a little bit longer, 6. So it's useless. Like I it's great for blocking, but also that I cannot think of a good enough reason why to play this card in your deck. And if I'm wrong, please tell me. Put in the comments. Let me know what this is good against besides Shin Shinron and Dark Broly. I might be missing another deck in that mix-up. So, but 4 boss because it's definitely searches of Broly. And then I went with 4 of the 1-drop Brolys. It just starts your swap chain. And if ball's on the board, it gets plus 11,000 power. And when this card is played, you can't play another copy of this card for turn. If I get 2 of the 1-drop Broly promos, this card will come down to a 3, and then it'll be one of those be a promo. So I play 2 promos, 3 of these is the ideal because the promo you crit a life though, but it plays a ball from the field, so it immediately makes this guy stronger, and it just gives you another block on the board. So if you can Vampa into that, it takes 2 life, but I think it's pretty nice. Alright, so we have the 1-drop on the board. Let's go into our chain. So I have 3 of the 3-drop, which Servant Auto, when you play this card, choose up to 1 red Paragus card of energy costs 1 from your hand to play it. So that also turns around and plays the Oath of Vengeance. So if I couldn't get a Vampa, hopefully to my hand when I play a 3-drop, boom, play it that way. Alright, for 1 red energy, you swap into the 4-drop. I play 4 of those, mainly because the leader's auto. If anything happens to my chain, I want to make sure I have 4 drops and under for sure to just play it back to the field. But if your leader card is red, when this card is played, choose up to 1 of your red Unisons, add a marker to it. Then your opponent chooses 1 card in their hand, sends it to the warp. At the end of your opponent's next turn, they can add the card sent to the warp back to their hand. Alright, for 1 energy, we go into the 5-drop, which I chose only go with 3 on this one. Maybe because there's a lot of ways of searching this out now. So, crit. Auto. If your leader card is red, when this card is played, choose up to 1 of your red Unisons, add a marker to it. Then your opponent chooses 1 card in their hand, sends it to the warp, and at the end of your opponent's next turn, same thing as the 4-drop. They can bring a card back to their hand. Now, for 1 energy, but if your opponent has 3 or more energy, or you have 4 or more energy, you can do the swap. That means if you go first, you have to wait till your beginning of your turn 4, or if you go second, your turn 3, as long as your opponent is charging energy. So your opponent can definitely just choose not to charge a card, make you have to wait a whole nother turn before you get this card out, or get the next card out, which is the 6-drop, which I play 3 of as well. Unique, crit, and double strike. And what makes this card so great is that if your leader card is red, when this card is played, choose up to 1 of your red Unison cards, add 2 markers to it, then choose up to 3 cards in your opponent's hand, send them to the warp, which is pretty nice. So if you go second and you can awaken on turn 3, you could technically go into the 4, go into the 5, go into the 6, all for 1 energy each, because then you can awaken afterwards. That's 5 cards from your opponent's hand, which is, amazing. And once you swung all these cards, in my experience actually, once you get the whole chain out, your Kel should have 7 markers on her. And you activate main, which Kel, first real quick, when you play her as an auto, you could look up the top 3 cards of your deck, add up to 1 mono red Saiyan card among them to your hand, then place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. Auto, choose up once per turn, when one of your red battle when one of your red battle cards activates swap skill, add 1 marker to this card. And as you saw, the 4, the 5, the 6 all add markers to her. So, activate main. Choose up to 1 of your opponent's leader cards. It gets minus 15,000 power for the turn. Then choose up to 1 of your mono red battle cards of energy cost 5 or less, and a swap skill in your hand and play it. So, ideally, Wally is hitting the camera stand. Sorry about that. When you play this 6-drop, you're pulling the 5-drop back to your hand. So, you use Kel's effect, replay the 5-drop. Now your opponent has to warp another card, so that's 6 cards they've had to warp so far. And now your opponent has 0 life. Oh, sorry, their leader card has 0 power. And you can just go in to their leader, and that could be game. And for some reason, you have to use the 6-drop and everything else, and that's not game yet. If you have the 8-drop secret rare, you play it. So, Ultimate Barrier Double Strike. Activate main. Choose one mono red Saiyan card with energy cost, with original power of 35,000 in your battle area, which in this case, boom, 35,000. Place it to your drop area. Play this card from your hand. Then choose up to one of your mono red leader cards. It gains 10,000 power until the start of your next turn. That's pretty nice. So that way, if you can't finish your opponent off this turn, your leader has, if awakened, has 25,000 battle power until your next turn. Then permanent, all cards in your opponent's leader areas, battle areas, and combo areas get minus 5,000 power and combo power. So it just pretty much weakens your opponent's entire field. And I mean, if you can't win off that, that's crazy. That's all I'm saying. Alright, so that's the entire Broly chain that I currently play. Next would be kind of like my extra cards. I mentioned a 1-drop searcher earlier. So new model scouter is pretty nice. Look up to 7 cards top of your deck. Choose up to any 2 red freezes and army cards with energy cost 4 or more, and add them to your hand. So that being said, which I think is amazing, is that the 6, the 5, and the 4 are all considered freezes army cards. So that's what you're pulling with. Now, that definitely may come down to a 2 with doing some more testing. But if I get that card early on, or if I start with Planet Vampa, that's one of the cards I pulled in my hand. That way I go and get these top cards for my chain back to my hand as soon as possible. So leaving it at 3 isn't a bad idea. But keep in mind, it's only those 3 cards you could pull with it. So the next extra card will be Wolfang Fist, because we have a Unison. Just if your leader card is mono red, choose one attacking battle card or leader card, ignoring barrier, gets minus 15,000 power for the battle. Permanent, if you have a red Unison in play, you can actually you can play it for free pretty much. 2 violent rays, which is an amazing negate. So if your leader card is red, negate the attack. You may choose 1 card in your hand and this card. If you do, choose 1. Your opponent can't attack with battle cards with 20,000 power or more for the duration of a turn. Or your opponent can't attack with Unison cards with 20,000 power or more for a turn. So it either stops a really nasty Unison, or it stops your opponent's potentially massive field. Which one thing I could really think of would be like Gotenks with all their getting battle cards on the field and whatnot. And for a little extra protection, 3 topos. I mean, you can't go wrong topos. You play it, discard a card. Now your opponent wants to swing at you. They discard 2 cards every time they do it. So sweet. A little more protection. I never really use this for an offensive play, but super combos. I'm going to get myself down to 4 life pretty quick. And try not to awaken until turn 3. If I obviously went second. So super combos are always nice to play as a defensive measure. So that's it on that. 1. I play 1 SS Super Saiyan Vegeta Exploding Weakness. Counterplay, play this card. If your leader card is red, which mine is, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 2. When you play this card, choose all of your opponent's battle cards and they get minus 20,000 power for duration of turn. If it is your opponent's turn, choose up to one of your leader cards and it gains 5,000 power for duration of turn. So it's like a nice little. If I go first and I have this card in my hand, I will leave all three of my energy untapped to play this card because it boosts my leader. It negs the field, so plays a 1-up. Depending on the matchup, you can definitely sideboard more of them in there. Next card, because your leader has crit, I chose to go 2 Bardock the Resolute. It can go up to 3 for sure, and only because it's currently ruled that crit will trigger this effect. If your leader card is red, when an opponent's life is added to their hand or placed in the drop area by a skill, you may play this card from your hand. Once a turn, when your opponent activates a counter skill, switch this card to active mode, and it has double strike, so sweet. And because your leader also has crit, I decided to add 2 of the Champas in there to give my leader double strike, just for flare options, or potentially the 5-drop or the 6-drop, because nothing can go wrong when you double strike crit. Alright, so that's the deck profile. I'm still tweaking it, like I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the video, so like, if there's anything you all could definitely give me advice on, I would appreciate it. We do have a duel hopefully coming out soon with this one. If I don't get a chance to record that duel, then it will be coming out next week. But with that being said, thank you for tuning in. Like always, read your cards, know your plays, and fluff out.